Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be for all the people who are considering going back to school to become a therapist. Now, I want to give you some pros and cons of what it looks like to be a later in life therapist. Now, there is no real way to define this, but I will tell you what the traditional route looks like. And if you're outside of that, I would say then you are probably going to qualify for what we are talking about. So most people who were in my program, I was in a clinical mental health counseling program, and I am an LPCCs. So just for context, my program was full of people who had psych undergraduate degrees and were probably around like 22 to 23 years old and had just graduated, knew they wanted to be therapists, and went straight in to get their master's degree. So I personally did not take that route. I have an undergraduate degree in education, and I worked a few years in the public schools and then decided, okay, actually, I do not want to teach long term. This is extremely stressful. And what I did enjoy about teaching was working one-on-one with students that had mental health issues. So I thought, maybe I should be a therapist. Now, I am going to give you some pros and some cons to think about. And hopefully this will give you a little bit more context if you are thinking about going this route, because it's a really big decision and a big commitment. So without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Allyssa Powers, and I created this YouTube channel to teach you the things that grad school didn't so you can thrive in the mental health field. I would love it if you would subscribe, stick around if you are a therapist or you are therapy curious. Let's get right into the pros. So the first pro of being a later in life therapist is that you are going to have more life experience and life skills to share with people. Now, do I think that you need to have every life experience that your potential client has? No. But do you have some added wisdom in your arsenal? Absolutely. And I know that a lot of the older therapists in my grad program were the most profound, the most curious, and the most wise people. So you will probably be well served by having some added years under your belt in terms of life experience. Another thing that I think is a huge pro is that you will appeal to a different kind of clientele than a younger therapist would. So when people are looking for a therapist, they probably are looking at photos and reading bios on a website. And we do base a lot of our decisions off of how people look. It's just human nature. You are going to appeal to older adults. And if that is something, a niche that you want to work with, that is going to be wonderful, because there are just people that want an older therapist, period. There are people who want a younger therapist. There are people who, are looking for a therapist that has a certain identity or the same race as them or whatever. But just know that it will serve you well to be in that niche, because there are tons and tons and tons of new grad therapists, and there are not as many older therapists, because I hate to say this, and this kind of leads into one of the big cons, but the burnout rates are really big in the therapy field. So not everyone makes it to be that older therapist. And then the last pro, and this is a huge one, is that being a therapist can be a lifelong career. You are not going to age out of being a therapist. Unless you lose your mind, like in old age, you could do this career forever, right? Like we are just sitting down and talking to someone. And so it's not a physical job. You're not in a trade. You're not going to age out. You're not going to be hopefully discriminated against because of your age. I think that therapy is a really beautiful and flexible field in that way. So your unique qualifications and attributes are going to hopefully be celebrated, and you will be able to make a lifelong career out of this. And especially if you are pivoting, you want this to be lifelong. Now let's get into some of the cons. First major con, and I will keep this brief because I have so many videos about this, and I will go ahead and link a playlist up here about money, but the pay for therapists is very, very, very poor. We are the worst paid master's level degree holders. So if you didn't know that, now you know. And as an older adult, or wherever you find yourself in life, you may have more financial responsibilities than someone who is maybe still living with their parents, is just getting started, still on their parents' phone plan, still eating meals at home, that kind of thing. If you have a big mortgage, if you have kids in college, just know that this is financially, potentially a very low paying field, but also a very high paying field. It really depends on if you want to go into private practice at some point or not, and what country you're in, honestly. So I could seriously talk about that for the next 20 minutes, but I will just link to my other videos about finances. And then the next con is that school takes a long time, and getting fully licensed takes a long time. So school, if you are becoming an LPC, because that's my experience, but all of these are pretty much the same, except for if you want to become a psychologist, that's even longer. But you're looking at 2.5 to 3 years minimum, and more like 4 or 5 if you are doing it more slowly or part-time. So it takes a while, and then you need to get hours and 2 years of experience before you can become fully licensed. You have to take another licensure test. That's how it works when you're an LPC, getting your LPCC. Last con is that you are probably going to be an outlier in your grad program. Now, does that really matter? No, it's totally okay. Like, we had multiple older adults in our program, and they kind of all became friends, and everyone in the counseling program is super nice, empathetic, and wonderful. But just know that you are probably going to be one of like 2, 3, 4 older adults. Now, that really does not matter, and I think it is completely okay, but I'm just throwing it out there that could be seen as a con. Now, I hear my baby crying in the other room, so I'm going to wrap this up, but I really want to hear from you in the comments. What has your experience been? I know I have so many people who have made the career shift, and I really want to hear, what were you doing before? What are you doing now? What kind of therapist do you hope to be? I am so curious and would love it if you would sound off in the comments. Personally, I think it is never too late to change and become a therapist. I absolutely love this field. It's why I created this channel. It's why I have AlyssaPowers.com. It's why I am creating continuing education for therapists that is business focused, because I want people to thrive and enjoy as much as I have. So subscribe, stick around, and I will see you next time. Bye.